So before this video starts, I want to ask you guys if you would like me to shoot some of my episodes only using Yashica. And if you do, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any recommendations for old video cameras as well. So with all this out of the way, let's get on to today's video. What is up, film fam? It's your boy Eye of Alchemy coming at you with another video. And today I want to talk about all the adventures that can be had on only one roll of film. So a couple months ago, a friend of mine sold me a roll of expired slide film, and he told me I should cross-process it because this film specifically, when you cross-process it, it gives you some funky results. I didn't research this film and I didn't know what it was. And I thought, let me be spontaneous and see what fun results I'll get. Now the film that I'm talking about is Lomography X-Pro 200, and it was expired for a decade at this point. I used the rule when shooting expired film, overexpose one stop for every decade that the film is expired. X-Pro 200 being a 200 speed film, I shot it at 100. Now, I've never shot slide film before, let alone cross-process slide film. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I'm so glad that I did it because these results, man. Before I get into those, the camera that I chose to shoot this roll on was my trusty Yashica 635, which is a beautiful camera that gives you amazing results. But I'm not going to do a full review about this baby now. I'll do it sometime in the future. Let's talk about the roll of film though. For my first couple of exposures on this roll, we were in Constantia. When I say we, I mean the group of Analog Cape Town. We were out in Constantia. We were on a wine farm, so there was a lot of greenery around us, lots of flowers, beautiful scenery. We walked past this little tree and I asked my friend to go take a nap under it. And this is what I composed. Now at the time I didn't know about the exposure latitude of slide film, let alone when it gets cross-processed. So I didn't expect my highlights to be blown out like this or my shadows to be underexposed as they are. I think that I could have composed a bit better, but my end result, I think it's a good picture. Before we talk about my second frame, I want to talk about the colors of X-Pro 200. The only way I can describe it is, well, have you watched The Matrix? Same vibe with the colors. It gives you this post-apocalyptic, eerie feeling, and I really like it. I think that it's different. It's weird. It's gonna make your photos look unique. So let's talk about this second exposure, which is a portrait of a very, very talented photographer. On Instagram, he's known as Analogue. Go check him out. This is a portrait I took of him. I just asked him to chill where he is, just let me frame up and take a shot of him. And I think that I absolutely nailed this. I like that we can see the flowers in the background. He is not blasted with background blur, but you can see the separation from the background, which I like. I think that I almost nailed focus on this shot. His eyes aren't exactly sharp in here. Yeah, you can't exactly see fine detail when using a TLR, but I do think that this is a nice shot. His face is not too blown out while his forehead is a little bit hot. You can see the highlights are a bit hot, but there is detail where there needs to be detail. There is color, even though it's funky. And I like the shot overall. Now, this third one, I didn't like at first, but I wanted to take a portrait of my friend Jordan, and I asked him to go sit up on the steps. So I posed him up and I took a shot. And with the Yashica 635, let me just show you real quick. You can take as many exposures as you want without winding the film on. So I took my exposure and I was distracted this time, so I took my photo and I just walked away. The second shot I framed up with Jordan and his partner. I put them in this little arch by this building, and the building looked cool, so I was like, okay, let's show the grandeur of this building by using the size of them. Yeah, at first if you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, cool, and then you're like, wait, what? I didn't know what I was looking at first, and then I zoomed in and I was like, oh, I didn't wind on. I didn't exactly like the photo, but if we look at the top, on top of the roof, you can actually see some of the characteristic of the lens on the Yashica 635. You can see that the trees look like they are swirling, and The Yashica on the 635 does have that swirl. It looks like it swirls like the Helios lenses. Let's move on to the next one. So this exposure I actually took like 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, and this was in the Stellenbosch area, which is also farmlands. You have a lot of old buildings, you have a lot of wide expanses, and I think it's a really cool place to take photos. Anyway, I'm ranting. This is gonna be just a ranting video. So you can see that the building looks like it's been abandoned, but it hasn't been. There's always cars standing there, but I happened to take this shot when nobody was there. Shooting this exposure, I knew that I'd get funky colors, but I didn't know what type of funky colors. So I just thought, well, let me take this exposure and see what happens. But let's talk about the emulsion itself. I don't know what's happening here in the sky. It looks almost like the film is dirty, or there was light leaks or something, but I like the feel that it gives this picture. It feels uncomfortable, and you can see the tracks in the sand leading up to the building, which means that somebody was there, but there's nobody there anymore. And this next shot ties in nicely, but I do want to talk about the colors, and we can see how the color of the sky changes from the previous shot to this shot. And I think that was interesting because that wasn't, well, I don't think it was the emulsion now that I look at it. I think that it was just the way this film was treated. We still have those spots on the film. We have that looks like light leaks and like somebody rubbed their finger on pencil and then rubbed it on the emulsion. That's the only way I can describe that. I want to talk about the vines. The vines and the trees, we can see the brown looks really desaturated and the greens look almost purple. Now, this was interesting because when I was there shooting this photo, these leaves were bright green. If we look at the tar in front of this tavern, it looks almost like sand. So the color shifts are very interesting and I'd say unpredictable with this film. Talking about this picture in technical terms, it's nothing special at all. I think it's actually a pretty bad photo, but I just wanted to take another close-up photo of this tavern, and I thought it was pretty funny that it was called the Moonshine Tavern, and this building looks so old. It looks like it was built when they first invented moonshine. So I thought, okay, let me take this shot. Looks cool, looks old. Now, if we go to the next photograph, I think that this is technically the best still life photograph I've ever taken in my life. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So I took this photo at 2:30 in the morning. I headed to the kitchen, I made myself a bowl of cereal, had a glass of water, put it in the sink, and then I had this moment. I realized that this scene in front of me symbolizes the end of the previous day and the preparation of a new day for so many other people around me. Once you've settled down, you've had your supper, you've done the dishes, everything that you need to do for the next day is also done. Whatever meals you need to prepare, you prepare those ingredients, or you take out whatever utensils or whatever you need to do. I don't know if you guys do that, but I'm normally in the kitchen doing that. This scene, I was capturing this eclipse between two very busy moments, and it was funny that that exact moment was this still. We can see over in the bottom right corner my bowl, my spoon, and my cup. Things that drew me were the flowers being the soft, gentle form in all these hard, straight cut lines. I really like that, and the soft light complements that well, even though it creates a harsh shadow and it contrasts so greatly with the highlight. I also like how these plants on the top shelf are flowing, and there's another little cloth there. I didn't even notice that until now. I've done my chores, that's why the one cloth is unfolded and the next clean one is on top waiting for me for the next day. I like how this photo told a story for me. Anyway, I'm talking about the shot for way too long. Let's move on to the next one. Finally, we get to the last day of the roll, which was another couple weeks after I shot that exposure in the kitchen. And this was when me and this guy over here, Sean, which is a good friend of mine, we were waiting for people to show up for a photo shoot. We were in Cape Town CBD, so we were sitting in the gardens and we were an hour early.
Silent movie today. We are rocking this. Noise. This is crazy, bro. It's like shit they used in the First World War, man. Or the Second World War, more or less. Yeah?
Well, I whipped out some gear. I told Sean, yo, don't you just want to chill on the bench for me and I'll set up a shot? He was like, cool. And this is what I got. I think this is a really cool portrait. Even though I'm focused on the camera and not on his eye, I do like how this is shot. I like that we have something interesting happening in the background, because those splotches of blown out highlights and the swirl of the foliage make it look like a painting, and then, well, Sean himself looks like he was pasted on this painting. I think that it makes for an interesting picture. This next shot, I just took a couple steps back. I told Sean, just chill, and I took this one. Now, once again, I did not nail focus. While the Yashica 635's viewfinder is very, very bright, I'm just not good at focusing on small little subjects. So I was trying to focus on his eye, didn't nail it, but I think it's in focus enough. I don't like that I lost detail on the side of his face where the highlights are showing, but otherwise I like the shot. It speaks a lot about Sean's personality. You look at his face, it looks quite stoic, but his pose looks quite relaxed, and that is exactly how Sean is. He's very put together, but he's also a very chill guy. The little camera on his lap adds a nice point of interest because you can't exactly tell what it is here. Sean dresses really well as well because he's a fashion designer, so I also just wanted to show off his outfit. He then decided he wants to take a shot of me, and I made sure that my exposure settings were right. He just had to focus. This is what we got. I was chilling with my camera in my hand, and well, it's an okay picture. For your first shot on film, well done, Sean. I think you did well. No real loss of highlights aside from that part on my arm and this little space between the buildings. But other than that, I think that this is okay. I like that everything is like an earth tone, so the greens are very close to what the browns look like, and this little sun flare on the side gives a point of interest as well. I really like this shot. Even though it looks like trash, I love the shot. I told Sean to go pose on this little podium thing that was in the middle of the gardens, and I think there was a statue on there before, but it was just blank now. He stood on there, he posed, I took a photo, and then the security started chasing after us. I told Sean to leave the tripod where it was and that we should take a shot of me as well. Now, we managed to lose our tail, which was the police. I jumped up on this podium quickly and I just told him to hit the shutter button, not realizing that I didn't wind the film on. So we have this double exposure. Yeah, it looks like I'm a ghost and you can't exactly see that Sean is there because you really have to look for him. It's fun. It's not even in focus. It's a horrible photo, but I like it. Then we look at this one, which Sean took, and well done, man. This is a nice photo. It's a funny photo. It's a humorous photo because it looks like I just have little stubs for legs. And this he did all by himself. He just asked me how does he meter for the settings. I told him what the settings were. He doesn't even know what the settings do. He put it in himself, he composed, he focused, and he got a good picture.
Damn!
Let's look at the last shot now. This is so cool, man. I didn't realize how cool this shot was until I actually sat down for a good 10 minutes and just analyzed this. Let's first talk about the obvious things and then move on to the nuances that make this photo great. As you can see, I'm not focused on Sean. I focused on the bench, which is behind him. It's still sharp enough that you can see him clearly. That's the first thing. Now we talk about the pillars and Well, these little structures on the side that lead your eye directly to Sean. Even the bench leads your eye directly to Sean. Those structures also hold a lot of foliage, so there's a bit more shadow where those structures are built, meaning that it looks almost like there's a spotlight shining down, illuminating Sean, which I think is really, really cool. If we look at the foliage itself, you can actually see that there is a clearing on top of where he's sitting. So this beam of golden sun is shining through, and hey, that is actually kind of like a spotlight. I really like this. And then if you look really carefully behind him, you can see that there are two trees and he's positioned in the middle of that. So your eyes hit smack dab on him when you look at this photo. I like that everywhere you look in this photograph, it's interesting and it's still gonna lead your eye back to Sean. Let me prove my point. If you look at the top right of the shot, you can see that there are different types of leaves growing on this one tree, which it's not actually one tree, it's branches interwoven, but I think it's interesting. And then we follow those branches down and it goes down the pillar of the structure along with the bench into Sean. Now we did all that without realizing that there's actually a bin in the bottom left corner of the shot. Do you see what I mean? Anywhere you look, it will be interesting. So yeah, I think I really like this shot, and I think that Sean is gonna like it as well. I still didn't send this to him. Anyway, that was one roll of film shot over the space of 2 months on one medium format camera. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave me a like. And until the next time I see you guys, peace. My dude, that is the moon.
I'll probably skate down here and record it. I'm that crazy, bro.
Anyway, Sean, peace, bro.
Later.